Good morning, students. My name is Dr. Adesanmi. I am your lecturer for today. This is lecture 5 in the GNS202 Conflict Management and Citizenship Education. The lecture 5 title, which is the topic that we'll be considering today, is Models of Conflict Management. Models of Conflict Management. There are things that we are likely to understand at the end of this class. One, you understand what models are all about with respect to conflict management. And we're going to discuss these models and with particular emphasis on the characteristics of each of the models that we'll be considering. We are going to be looking at theoretical properties of the models and with particular reference to Nigeria. We are going to ascertain within the course of our discussion the effectiveness of these models and how they can bring up a kind of permanent solution to the crises and problems created by conflicts in Nigeria. And we will be looking at the extent to which the models have actually captured the problems as we have it. So to start today, we will be looking at the concept of a model. When we talk of model, what exactly are we talking about? And models in relation to conflict management. I want to believe that in the previous classes, the concept of conflict has been defined by lecturers. So we know what conflict is all about. All right. So we want to look at the concept of model. I will be starting by telling you that model is just like an abstract representation of the real world. What do we mean? All right. When you try to typify, you try to represent the real thing using something that is not real. Okay? So when we talk of model, model is an abstract representation of the real world. Abstract representation of the real world. Okay? When we talk of model, what exactly are we talking about? Model is not real. I want to use what you know to explain model. You are familiar with purchase of shoes, purchase of clothing, materials, and so on and so forth. And you will definitely be in tune with what we refer to as modeling. All right? They want to advertise a particular style of dress to you. A jean trouser, a t-shirt, a suit, a set of pants, and so on and so forth. And what would they do? They will look for somebody to come and put that particular thing on. Be it a pant, be it a jean, be it a jacket, put it on and then walk around for you to see. Then you will refer to those people as what? Model. What they are telling you is that this is how this particular cloth will look on you. Okay? So that is modeling. They are representing abstract representation of the real world. Okay? But the models we are talking about here, for the purpose of conflict management, we are talking about the styles. All right? The styles of conflict management. And that is why some authors in the literature refer to models as what? Somebody like Ojiji, Thibault, and Walker, who they prefer to use conflict handling styles. So if we talk of models of conflict management, we can still say conflict handling styles, okay, or styles for conflict management. In some other literature, you'll find something like a theory of procedure, okay, theory of procedure. In some other literature, you will find something like a dispute processing. Whichever one we are looking at, we are still saying the same thing, despite the differences in words, in terminologies, all right? All what we are trying to do, either models, styles, theory, processing, all we are trying to do is to develop a permanent framework for the management of conflicts, all right? Trying to come up with an approach, a framework that can help us to manage conflict. Whether you see it as handling styles, whether you see it as a procedure, whether you see it as a dispute processing, conflict management seeks not the total solution to conflict by tackling or preventing its occurrence. That is not what it's trying to do. Rather, it concerns its word itself with the development of a framework to handle conflict. In the words of David Easton, he called it a pattern maintenance. Pattern what? Pattern maintenance. That will still allow for stability of political system in the face of the imposing threats and crises. All right? This has to be because, as earlier hinted, conflict is inevitable. I think you know that. The earlier lecturer will have discussed that with you. Conflict is inevitable. Wherever you have two group of people, all right? The moment you have two or more people in a place, conflict is bound to occur, all right? It's an inevitable aspect of a human relation. Wherever you have people, there will be conflict. So when there is conflict, all right, which is inherent, which has to do with competition between and among actors, two people and more, all right? Therefore, there is need to evolve practices, traditions, and models with which conflicts can be managed. You just have to find a way of managing conflict, right? You have to find a way of managing conflict. What are these models, these practices, these traditions for managing conflict? We have quite a number of them, but for the purpose of this particular lecture, we are going to consider about 6 or at most 7 of these models. Number 1 will be constitutionalism. Constitutionalism. Number 2 will be democracy. Democracy. Number 3 will be fundamental human rights or fundamental rights of human beings. Fundamental human rights. Number 4 will be administrative and political principles of accountability and transparency. All right. Number 4 will be administrative and political principles of accountability and transparency. Number 5 will be federalism and federal framework of governance. Number 6 will be integrative policies. 7 will be special programs and intervention to address poverty and unemployment. Okay, number 8 will be cooperation. All right, cooperation, accommodation, and tolerance among people. These are the models that we'll be considering in the course of this lecture. Don't forget, when we talk of model, model as defined can be seen as abstract representation of the real world. And model can as well be referred to as styles, can be referred to as a procedure, okay? The styles or the procedure of handling conflict or managing conflict as the case may be. So we are going to be looking at some of them Constitutionalism will be 1. Democracy will be 2. Number 3 will be fundamental human rights. Number 4 will be administrative and political principles of accountability and transparency. Number 5 will be federalism and federal framework of governance. Number 6 will be integrative policies. Number 7 will be special program and intervention to address poverty and as well as unemployment. Number 8 will be cooperation, accommodation, and tolerance among people. So these 8 models, we are going to consider them one after the other. And if these are considered or used or adopted, then conflict, which cannot but occur among people in a society, can be properly managed using this model. Number 1, which is a constitutionalism. Constitutionalism. I need to say that every contemporary political system tries to formulate for itself a constitution. There is no nation of the world, I stand to be corrected, there is no nation in the world that doesn't have a constitution. There must be a constitution. Constitution will be the bedrock. That is the framework where you have all the laws, the codes embedded for good governance in that particular society. So every nation of the world, every political system tries to formulate for itself a constitution. This is because the constitution is a fundamental legal charter spelling out the processes and procedures, what to do and what not to do, all right, by government as well as governmental functionaries. Okay, everything they are expected to do is embedded in the constitution. So they have the constitution because conflict is a product of competition between and among groups, actors, interest holders. The constitution defines the nature of the competition. Okay? In the constitution, you are going to find it there. Who can do what? Who are the people that can fight for what? All right? To what extent can somebody aspire to do this? All these are codified in the constitution. Okay? The constitution, as a fundamental element of government and politics, is however meaningless without recognition by every actor that it is supreme. All right? The rule of law talks about the supremacy of the law. All right? Ditto for the constitution. Every single actor within the political system must see the constitution as supreme in every situation. Okay? The constitution as a fundamental element of government and politics is however meaningless. It is not meaningful. It will not show anything until it is recognized by all and sundry, everyone within that political system, that that constitution is supreme. Therefore, the fact that every constitution is a reference point has provisions that empower and limit actions of participants. In the constitution, as a model of conflict management, you will find it there what you can do, what you cannot do, the extent to which you can do that thing that you wanted to do. Everything is contained in the constitution. Okay? It has provisions, either empowering or limiting the actions of participants. At the same time, it provides a useful legal framework upon which people can stand, upon which structure can stand. Okay? And regular platform with which to discuss and manage conflict potentials and realities. Constitution as a model of conflict management is such that if the dictates of the Constitution is followed to letter, all right, it will appropriately prevent the crisis that will follow every conflict. And that is why the moment there is a, a kind of a conflict, sometimes they refer back to the Constitution. What is the provision of the Constitution for this particular thing? As it is now, in Nigerian federal structure, in the Constitution, each of the tiers of government are expected to be independent of each other. But the Constitution defines the level of independence. In operating that constitutional provision, some state government, if not all of them in Nigeria, have stifled. They have held their local government to the jugular. The Constitution says you cannot have a caretaker, arrangement in the local government. But most of the time, the governors in the state, because they have supervisory role in court, all right, decide now to lord over them. And as a result of that, the president of the nation, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, decided to approach the Supreme Court to be able to get interpretation for the provision of local government in the Constitution. All right? So, constitutionalism is a model for conflict management in any political system, Nigeria inclusive. Number two, democracy. This is often touted to be the best form of government. Okay, that's what people say. They take democracy to be the best form of government because in it contains in its fundamental feature things that are necessary, all right, and important for management of conflicts. It is there. Politics is all about conflicts, accommodation, sustenance of ideas and values, which are deeply cherished by people. Okay? A government of the people, by the people, and for the people provide the inherent mechanism for managing differences and divergent opinions, usually within a period of 4 years, even when opportunity presents itself for the initiation of change. The will of the people is what reigns supreme under democracy. What is the will of the people? 100 people are in a nation. 51 of them says, this is the person that we want. 49 say, no, we don't want him. All right? Majority will carry the vote. And by majority, we are talking about 51. The remaining 49 will abide by the outcome of that particular exercise. And if not, they will wait for the provision, which has already contained in the Constitution, don't forget. Okay? 4 years, they will stay. After that, there will be another election. Whatever they will have to do, they will have to wait. Not to create problem within the polity, not to become unruly, all right? Not to affect the peace of that particular political system. So democracy, if practiced accordingly, don't forget, mandate can be stolen. If the mandate is stolen, there is provision in the Constitution how to seek redress. All right? Go to election tribunal, present your case. If you are dissatisfied, go to appeal court to present your case. In Nigeria, if you are dissatisfied at the appeal court, you go to the Supreme Court. But ideally, appeal court is supposed to be the final arbiter in the case of election, redress seeking, as the case may be. So we have mentioned two models now: constitutionalism, the place of constitution, and democracy. The third one is fundamental rights as a model of decision, as a model of conflict management. In every open society, there is always a provision, there's always opportunity for the discussion and accommodation of differences and opinions that usually lead to conflict. Open society underline the acceptance of the fact that the people are born equal and hence entitled to rights and freedom without restraints unless it is regulated by law. Fundamental human rights guarantees, if it is followed accordingly, is a tool, is a procedure for managing conflicts, unless the law says something differently. All right? The existence of rights and freedoms adequately protected and guarded by law is a guaranteed conflict management mechanism. All right? Because the right of every individual is recognized. It is promoted. And freedoms allow free and open discussion of factors, forces, processes that prepare conflict individually and collectively. Right and freedom of speeches, expressions, association, right to own property, among others. These are important and are necessary for discussion to take place, and decisions arrive democratically. So when we talk of fundamental human rights, which is enshrined, we go back to constitutionalism, which is enshrined in the Constitution. Okay? And that is followed to letter. Then you have already opened a channel for managing conflicts. Number four, administrative and political principles of accountability and transparency. Okay? Administrative and political principles of accountability and transparency. Principles are important to life because they help in the organization of human activities. Principles. All right? If there are no principles, then the whole world will run amok. We won't be able to do that which we are supposed to do in an environment that is conducive, because fear will pervade the land. You won't be able to predict what happened because there's no principle. But if principles are in place in the organization of human activities, life, especially political life, is filled and imbued with activities that are both supportive and at the same time detrimental to it. Information, once you further add, drives, influences, and shapes life for good and bad. Let me just mention this. Technology, for example, affects and propels the speed with which information is spread in this modern world, especially with the emergence of social media networks. I think you are all a living witness to that. Talking to you the way I am now, I'm reaching not less than 7,000 students at a go, which may be difficult if it is the old order of technology. So it affects and propels speed. I can reach, you can listen, you can hear me, you can see me if you want to. All right. So information, real or fake, provides opportunities for participation in decision-making process. Okay. Either the information is genuine, either it is fake, concocted. It gives people the opportunity, the grace to be part of decision-making process. So technology influence on information, which develops and increases the scope of governance, which in turn allows the penetration of our regular and permanent basis of fake news and rumors that are generally very destructive to every political system. Therefore, accountability and transparency as administrative and political virtue are both engines and mechanisms for the management of conflicts. Okay? Because they provide opportunities for government officials, in particular, to clarify knotty and fundamental issues, as well as problems that are capable of stressing the framework of governance. All right? Causing commotions between and among actors as they competitively relate and discharge their obligations. What do we mean by accountability here? Accountability aims measure the degree of government officials. Measure the degree of government officials' responsibility and responsiveness to the yearnings and aspirations of the people by encouraging and institutionalizing the transparency of their decisions as well as their actions. All right? If this is in place, it's a tool for managing conflict, especially before it boomerangs. Government officials that are in place, all right, if they maintain the principle of accountability and transparency, accountability in words and action, in deeds, and transparency, then conflict can be properly managed. It can be managed. Okay? But when they fail to uphold that principle of accountability and transparency, there cannot but be conflict. If there are fake news, if there are rumors, why don't you come out and clarify? If the news is genuine, all right, why don't you come out and give them reasons why that should be? All right, either in clarification of rumors or fake news, or in giving reasons for genuine information, genuine news, authentic news. What the officials of government are doing is upholding the principle as well as clarifying, giving information so that people will not hold to that which is not correct. When this is being done, all right, conflict is being managed. Number five, federalism and federal framework of governance. Federalism and federal framework of governance. Federalism as a rule is appropriate for federated interests, okay, where you have diverse people, diverse groups in the same entity. The late sage, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, in one of his books, stated that the best form of government for a nation like ours with diverse ethnic groups is federalism, all right? Which is specially designed to accommodate all the heterogeneous forces, diverse ethnic groups, languages, cultures, and so on and so forth. So it is a model of government suitable for extremely plural entity, plural and deeply divided political systems, where every group target the control of political power and authority. Unfortunately, the federalism we are actually practicing in Nigeria has become, a figment of the real federalism. All right? So like one of my lecturers would say, it's a caricature of what a federalism should be. But ideal federalism specifically encourage collaboration and cooperation between and among regional units within the federation. Whereby a political party that is unable to win the majority in the House can actually reach out to another political party who has members in the House, form a unity government to be able to control. That's what happened at independence. When NPC, if I'm not mistaken, Northern People's Congress, and the party, the Igbos, jointly form the government at that particular time, making the Alhaji Tafawa Balewa to become the first prime minister, and Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe becoming the governor general. All right? That was the kind of federalism that we are talking about. So there's a systematic division and allocation of power between and among the units of government, and the entrenchment of some rigidity as the Constitution provides in federal political system, which is assured of the contending forces of their autonomy within the competitive struggle for political power. The federal structure, all right, brings about an assurance of a constitutionally guaranteed polity, which help to assuage feeling that tend to disrupt the efficient and effective running of government. Federalism therefore provide the inherent opportunity for the management of conflict in the affected political systems. Number six. Integrative policies. Integrative policies. Following the experience of the Civil War between 1967 and 1970, at least for some of you, you should know, you recall, you must have done it in government and some other civics, come across in history, you come across the fact that Nigeria engaged or had a civil war. That is one part of the nation fighting against the federal government, or the people that are asking for the creation of Biafra as a republic, right? There was that war which occurred between 1967 and 1970. If I'm not mistaken, the war actually came to an end in February 1970 when Lieutenant Philip Effiong surrendered to the federal troop after the acclaimed president of the Biafra fled and ran away to Ghana. So between 1967 and 1970, there was that war. So the administration of General Yakubu Gowon in Nigeria deliberately initiated the rehabilitation. We call them 3 R's. 3 R's then, the rehabilitation, reconstruction, and reconciliation program designed purposely to reunite and reintegrate the political and ethnic division of Nigeria. integrative policies, all right, as a style or a model of conflict management. Okay? So, immediately after the war, after the parties involved have surrendered to the federal government and they announced that Biafra ceased to exist, okay, the president in person of General Gawan put in place the 3 R's. 3 R's is rehabilitation, reconstruction, and reconciliation programs, which was designed to reunite and reintegrate the political and ethnic divisions in Nigeria, to bring them back. All right? There was a crisis. And one of the approaches to managing that particular crisis, one of the models adopted by the federal government, is to bring about integrative policies, which they call the 3R. It didn't stop there. The establishment in 1973 of the National Youth Service Corps was equally established to provide opportunity for Nigerian youths after graduation to be acquainted with the diversity and plurality of Nigeria. Some of you are actually looking forward to that after your first degree, you want to go to NYC to serve the nation. Though, as it is now, the idea behind the establishment of that particular program is gradually being eroded, it's been defeated. Okay? Because you are not meant to serve in your region. The purpose of that particular program is for you to go elsewhere within the polity, all right, within the political system that we refer to as Nigeria, in order to get acquainted with other culture, all right, apart from your culture. But killings, kidnapping, banditry is already eroding that particular, So the National Youth Service Corps was established and to provide opportunity for Nigerians after graduation to bring about them understanding, And not only that, there's something referred to as federal character. This federal character, just like the NYC, just like the 3R, they were integrative policies. Federal character is saying that in every establishment, recruitment will follow the order, okay, that it will not be restricted. Recruitment will not be restricted only to a particular region if that institution, if that establishment belongs to the federal government. Therefore, every part of the region, today we have 6 geopolitical zones, and it's expected that these geopolitical zones should be represented. Okay, we have the northeast, the northwest, the north central. We have the southeast, the southwest, and the south-south, making the 6 geopolitical zones. All right. If you don't want to use that, we use the old order, the northern region and the southern region. Okay. Or if you don't want to use that demarcation, we go back to the region as we had it in the beginning of Nigeria, which is the northern region, the eastern region, and the western region. Okay? So whichever one we follow, they must be duly represented. Okay? And promotion will follow suit, employment will follow suit, appointment of officials will follow suit. Okay? That is how, these are integrative policies. And integrative policy is a way, is a model of conflict management. Number 7, special intervention programs. All right, special intervention program. Federal political systems of the third world, in particular, have embedded in their operations acquisition and counter-acquisition, burden of marginalization, and plans systemic exclusion, okay, of some groups in the management of governmental affairs. The claim is always there that, oh, you are marginalizing us. You are excluding us. You didn't bring us into it, all right? And the response of regimes, of government, in most of these third world countries or political system is to come up with a special intervention program across the sectors of political administration. General Babangida, Ibrahim Babangida administration in Nigeria actually, for example, initiated one of such programs. All right? He put in place what we call the ND, which is Directorate of Employment, National Directorate of Employment in Nigeria. He did another one which is called DFRI, which is Directorate of Food Rules and Rural Infrastructures. All right? The wife then came up with another idea, Better Life Program for rural women. Okay? All these are special intervention programs. The National Directorate of Employment was saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that employable people from all the walks of life, the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, are given opportunity. In fact, even if they were not employable, they were subjected to being trained. Why government is paying for that particular training and giving them stipends? That is what intervention program is talking about. And if that is done as it was done then, if that is continued, definitely, it's going to be one of other methods of conflict management that can be adopted. People will always clamor, hey, they left my community, they didn't attend to us, hey, they didn't give us, we don't have food, we don't have water, we lack development, and so on and so forth. But what did they do? He established DFRI, all right? DFRI was into provision of deep well in form of providing waters in the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, especially in the villages and the settlements. They work on rural roads, all right, rural electrification, and so on and so forth. All right, these are special intervention programs which were formulated. The initiative is grounded in the philosophy of transformational development, all right, which were integrative in nature, all right, integrative, to bring together, so there will not be division, there will not be exclusion, all right, and conflict that ensue that make people to begin to believe that, oh, we are not being taken care of, were dispelled as a result of this special intervention program. Number eight of the model is a cooperation, accommodation, and tolerance. All right, cooperation, accommodation, and tolerance. Conflict are reflection and expression of modern societies. You see, modern societies, all right, we are unable to cooperate. I guess that is just the way. We are unable to cooperate. We are unable to accommodate. Neither are we able to tolerate one another. All right, everybody is on his own. Modern society should be particularly noted are defined and distinguished in terms of possessing features and characteristics that are anchored in institutionalized role differentiations designed purposely to assist in the management of differences, the failure of which will lead to permanent conflicts. Okay, therefore, the formulation and development of institutional mechanism designed principally to encourage cooperation, accommodation, and tolerance between and among patricial systems are critical in helping political systems to manage conflicts. All right? There is a, okay, it was traceable to the administration of General Babangida once again. He created National Orientation Agency, NOA. All right? Noah is to bring genuine information to the people. That is one. Not only that, they are to bring about cooperation among people. All right? They are to preach tolerance and accommodation everywhere they go. They are present in all then 360 something local government that we have before we get to the level of 700 plus that we have. Okay? Preaching. Preaching does not mean church or religious preaching. All right? They do it by coming up with banners and leaflets. They sponsor programs on televisions. They sponsor jingles on radio. Preaching tolerance among people. All right? Tolerance among people. And what is the aim? The aim is to be able to achieve cooperation, to dispel division among people within the same polity. And this should be done, and it can be achieved, even in the religious places of worship. The churches, the pulpits, the imams, and the gatherings must not be a place where we foment hatred or we encourage people to begin to do things contrary, things that will go against peaceful coexistence among the polity. So cooperation, accommodation, and tolerance, if adopted, is another model for conflict management. From our discussion, we have looked at what model is all about. I go over it again, and I said model is just an abstract representation of the real world, all right? And there's no way we can dissociate model from conflict management. So it's expected of them to evolve models that can help in managing conflicts in any political system. So the construction and formulation of conflict management models is something that must be done. It must be done in such a way to achieve the utmost. How realistic are models of conflict management? That is a question. How realistic? Yeah, it is realistic. All right. When you look at each of the models, especially from the perspective of the Constitution, from the perspective of the democracy that we are running, from the entrenchment of fundamental human rights, by the time you begin to pick them one after the other, you will discover if we follow through, then we will have been able to manage the conflict that will ensue, all right, in the human interaction. In summary, model could be seen as a set of plans like we have for a building. All right? It's a miniature representation of something or a pattern of something. Okay? Model is abstract representation of the real thing. Models are formulation intentionally made to represent reality. All right? Model serves as solutions to problems. Okay? And when we now talk of conflict management models or models of conflict management, I mentioned 8 of them. 1 is constitutionalism. Number 2 is democracy. Number 3 is fundamental human rights. Number 4 is federalism and federal framework of governance. Number 5 is integrative transparency. All right. Number 6 is federalism. Number 6 is administrative and political principle of accountability and transparency. Number 7 is integrative policies. Number 8 is special programs and intervention to address poverty and unemployment. Number 8 is the cooperation, accommodation, and tolerance as discussed. So the construction and formulation of conflict management model should target not how to completely prevent or avoid conflict. I've told you, like you've heard in the previous lecture, you cannot avoid. Conflict is unavoidable. Wherever you have people, there will be conflict. But if you adopt this model, you'll be able to manage your conflict when they ensue. All right? The test for this particular lecture will come up within the week. So you will have it. Attempt and take your time to read the PDF on GNS202 conflict management and citizenship education. You'll find this one in the one we have just had now, which is lecture 5. You'll find it in session 6 of that particular document. If there are further questions, you can reach me on the platform via the GNS platform. You can send in your question and then I will attend to it. If there's no question, I want to say have a nice day